We'll try to conclude tonight our short series on the little Johns. That's the first, second, and third. So we will focus on strength in our relationships and the will of God. It cannot just be that we are friends or we know each other. There's got to be an anchor. There's going to be a central focus. And let's try the will of the Lord tonight. Okay? 3 John. The elder, to my dear friend Gaius, whom I love in the truth. So the second letter he addressed to the lady, now to Gaius. Dear friend, I pray that you are prospering in every way and are in good health, just as your whole life is going well. The King James Version, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospereth. Okay? For I was very glad when fellow believers came and testified to your fidelity to the truth, how you are walking in truth. I have no greater joy than this, to hear that my children are walking in truth. That's a source of his joy, to know that his children are walking in truth. Not that they have a very good career, but that they are walking in the truth. Dear friend, you are acting faithfully in whatever you do for the brothers and sisters, especially when they are strangers. So this guy is a very hospitable person. They have testified to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God, since they set out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from pagans. Now let me read that to you again. You will do well. Now he's talking to one person, Gaius. You will do well. First, it was hospitable in verse 5 and 6. So in the second part, you will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God, since they set out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from pagans. Therefore, we ought to support such people so that they can be co-workers with the truth. So this guy is hospitable. He housed missionaries, or not missionaries, but we'll just call them traveling preachers. Now, in those days, when you host somebody, you don't host them for a meal. You host them sometimes for 3 months, for 2 months, because there were no cars and no real hotels. There were inns. But now that they are about to go, they are preachers, John says, after you host them, send them properly. And here, clearly in the language, with support, so that they will not have to be dependent on the pagans, the ones that they're evangelizing. I will explain more on that one later. I wrote something to the church, but Diotrephes, who loved to have the first place among them, does not receive our authority. So here's a brother, Diotrephes. Anybody here named Diotrephes? Nobody. Good. At least you will not be in trouble. Don't name your son Diotrephes, okay? But this guy loves to be famous. He's one of those who do almost nothing but wants to have the credit. This is why, if I come, I will remind him of the works he is doing, slandering us with malicious words, and he's not satisfied with that. He not only refuses to welcome fellow believers, but he even stops those who want to do so and expels them from the church. So this guy is a church leader. So not only is he not hospitable, if you try to be hospitable, he tells you, don't be hospitable. If you become hospitable, he expels you. This guy is weird, and he's supposed to be a Christian, you know. Dear friend, do not imitate what is evil. I mean, do not follow Diotrephes. But what is good, that is Gaius. The one who does good is of God. The one who does evil has not seen God. I really like this John, you know. He tells it simply. John with an H. Yours without H, okay? Everyone speaks well of Demetrius. Now, that's a good name. It's a good example. So you can name your child Demetrius. Anybody here named Demetrius? Nobody, okay. You know the nickname of Demetrius? Dementia. No, I'm sure. even the truth itself. And we also speak well of him, and you know that our testimony is true. I have many things to write to you, but I don't want to write to you with pen and ink. I have to see you soon, and I will talk face to face to you. Peace to you. The friends send you greetings. Greet the friends by name. I don't know if you caught this in verse 13. I have many things to write to you, but I don't want to write to you with pen and ink. You can write on somebody's life without pen and ink. That means when you are ministering the truth to somebody, you are actually inscribing something in their life. That's why the Bible talks about the word written in the tablets of your hearts. Every time, the Chinese have this a proverb of children. They are compared to a blank paper. The moment a child is born, it's a blank paper. With that blank paper, you can write anything on it. Okay? So right now you have Johnny and you have Judah. Judah is more blank paper than Johnny. Okay? But now Joseph and Kayla and those around them are writing something in their lives. And you know that you have written something the moment it becomes their habit and they don't forget it. So John, remember what you are writing. Because some of the things that John is writing I don't like. Because Johnny will see him and Johnny will go. That's bad writing, Can you imagine if he greets people and goes like this? That's not good, John. Remember, you are writing that. You better erase that while you have time, okay? But when you make an impression on somebody, you are writing something. I have written something in the life of my children. Now, this is the problem that we have now. As they grow, there are so many people writing something in their hearts. Yeah. And that blank paper, the older they get, the more full it gets. That's why parents sometimes, they become too late in writing on the tablets of their children's lives. Especially, for example, if after the baby is born, you send them to the babysitters. What happened? The babysitters gets to write on their lives. That's why some parents wonder, well, that's not me. I'm not like that. I'm not teaching that to my kids. Yeah, but somebody else is. Somebody else is writing in their lives. And so parents should make sure that you are the ones writing in the tablets of their hearts. So when parents says, I really don't like what my kids turn into. Well, you did not write anything on their lives. You allow others to put garbage in there. And so that's what they have. And this is a very important teaching in terms of discipleship. Now let's talk about divine will or divine wish. This is found in verse 1 to 8, and this is a pattern of life that God wished for us to have or will for us to live. So you go back to verses 1 to 8. That is the will of God. And basically it's in the area of truth, it's in the area of hospitality, it's in the area of generosity. So here John is saying, I want this written in your lives. I want you to be in truth. I want you to be hospitable. I want you to be generous. Now, let's make some proper definitions of hospitality here now. Because we often define hospitality, okay, I'll take you out for a meal. That's not hospitality in the Bible. Because again, as I told you, these are traveling ministers, very popular in those days. And they will stay in somebody's house and they will not stay for overnight, maybe 2 months, 3 months. And some people abuse it. They move from house to house because free meal. And they will be evangelizing, they'll be preaching. And the moment they go, John told Gaius, send them with support. So this is a different kind of prosperity. That's why he said in the beginning, and I hope you guys understand this, because I think in the faith movement, they have barely touched it. It became very, very personal and very selfish. I wish, above all things, that you may prosper and be in health as your soul prospereth. Now remember that John is Jewish. Now, there is something about Jewish people, the believing community, that is outstanding, that I wish we Christians will grab and get a hold of. What is it? In their mind, the moment you are forgiven, you are also healed and you are also prospered. It's inseparable. Us that grew up in the Western tradition don't understand that. They are all separate. In the Eastern tradition, it's all together. That's why, for example, if in Asia, we are Asians, unless you are not, because it's not the color of skin, it's your culture, you know. In Asia, the moment you are forgiven, for example, by your parents, it comes along with the resources of the parents. If you are sick, the parents will send you to the hospital and get you healed. If you are hungry, he'll feed you. If you need money, they'll give it to you. That's prosperity. Okay? If you are not forgiven in the Asian tradition, there is no legality there. You say, well, in the West, well, it's my obligation, I have to give you allowance. Not in Asia. The moment you offend your parents and you lost their favor, there's nothing for you. They will not, it will be as if you will be in the same house, they will be kind enough to let you sleep, but they will be eating and they will not invite you. Asian parents can be very mean. Yeah. They will not invite you. And if you are hungry, they'll say, well, do you want the plate to come to you? And so you will be, and nobody will be talking to you on the table because you lost their favor. But the moment you humble yourself and ask for forgiveness, all of that follows. The Jewish mind is like that. The moment they always equate defeat and poverty with disobedience and rebellion against God. So the moment the Lord gives you forgiveness, their understanding is, if I am sick, God will heal me. If I am poor, God will prosper me. That is what we need to import in our consciousness. We don't have that. You know, Jews are very good in making money. You know why? Because they know they are Jews. They expect to prosper. Yeah. They expect to prosper. In fact, they used to say that a poor Jew is not Jewish. They used to say that. Because the moment you say you are Jewish, you have God's blessings. That's why they wear that yarmulke. I mean, if you don't want to wear that, wear a baseball hat. It's okay. It's the same. And they wear that because it's the symbol of the presence and the glory of God in their lives. And a backslidden Jew will not wear that. And so he will not recognize God. But the moment you are Jewish, and you know that you are God's people, you will prosper. I forgot his name. What's his name? That guy? The King Messiah? What's the name? Lubavitch? That's a name right there. But he's the rabbi of Netanyahu. I was listening to some of his speeches, and he said this. He was talking to a Jewish man and said, Rabbi, I have needs. I need to succeed. And the guy says, but you're Jewish. You are Jewish. Meaning, you are supposed to succeed. You see, that's covenantal. We don't have that. That's why us Western Christians and those who are not Jewish, we think that the doctrine of prosperity is something spectacular. No, it's not. It's part of salvation. The moment you get saved, you are supposed to be healed and you're supposed to prosper. Why? Look at Gaius. He's born again, and some say he's Jewish with a Greek name, but say he's Jewish, okay? And from the second letter, it seems like he's really Jewish. But look at this. His hospitality is, you are not only supposed to receive these preachers coming to your house, you're supposed to feed them, you're supposed to house them, and the moment they're done, because they are going to move on to the next village or the next city, don't just send them away because they're evangelizing. Be a partner with them. Send them with cash. Now, if you don't have money, you will not be able to do that. And because Gaius was obedient, now this is what John says, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospereth. What he was saying, hey Gaius, I heard that you're a very generous person. Oh, this is my wish. And this is the will of God for you, that you will continue to be healthy, that you will continue to be prosperous. Prosperity and health is targeted. Okay? We don't ask God to be healthy so that we can join the Mr. Universe contest or the Miss Universe contest. Yeah. We ask God to make us healthy so that we will have the physical strength and stamina to do the will of God. Okay? Now, why do we ask God for prosperity? Again, the Western mind is so that you can buy a good house. There's nothing wrong with that. You can buy a good car and nice sets of clothes. But that is not something that the Jews are supposed to concern themselves. Your prosperity is tied up, from the words of Paul, to doing good works. Jesus himself said that the pagans think about these things. What do they think and even worry about? Food, clothing, and shelter. And then he said, but if you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, if you seek his will, all of these things shall be added unto you. And by the word, that word added, it's not just I'll add, it keeps on adding. Because if you keep on seeking the kingdom of God, make it an infinitive, okay? If you keep seeking the will of God, God will keep prospering you. God will keep everything you touch is supposed to prosper because your energy is towards doing the will of God. So it's not prosperity and health for the sake of going to a Mr. Universe contest or so that you can get a modeling job. That's not the purpose. It's not prosperity so that you can buy so many houses and so many cars. It's prosperity so that you can do the will of God. It's all tied up to that. Because, you know, look, bottom line, we will not bring anything with us when we die. You know, right now, there's some stories going around for as old as man is, that the moment somebody is dying, if they have money, they are wondering, how in the world am I going to whom will I leave this money? Because you are not concerned about the will of God. But by the way, look at the advertisements of Jewish people in our neighborhood. Something like, leave 3% or 5% to Jewish education. Follow some of these stories of rabbis and their congregations. A Jewish businessman will be approached by the rabbi and says, hey, listen, last year you gave $10,000. I want you to give $30,000 this year to bless others for charity. They use the word charity. And this Jewish businessman will say, we have to do it by faith. They're using that. And so the Lord keeps prospering them. It's in their mind. It's not in our mind. It's got to be in our consciousness. We have to be forgiveness conscious, okay? Because we are not Jewish, especially if you're Filipino. Because if you're Filipino, we have a saying, isang kahig, isang tuka. Yeah. How do you translate that in English? One scratch, and you win the lotto. No, that's not what it means. You know, when chicken, have you seen chicken? Yeah. Not the drumstick, okay? The live ones. They will scratch the ground and they will peck something. That's their food. So there's a Filipino saying, isang kahig, one scratch, and then you peck. That's Filipino mentality. It's even in our proverb. I have a book in my library this thick about Filipino proverbs. We have so many proverbs, and we are still poor, you know. It doesn't help at all. The Filipino proverbs is thicker than the book of Proverbs. It's amazing. But in that proverb, it confirms the Filipino mentality of survivor mentality. And to always barely make it. That's not Jewish. Yeah. Well, let's not put it this way. Let's say, that's not faith thinking. That is not how faith people think. And we should renew our minds. If you are still bothered by what you're going to eat, by what you're going to wear, where you're going to live, you have not even reached the basic. Because again, when a faith community member gets forgiven, automatically in their consciousness, prosperity is coming, health is coming. In fact, in some of the passages in the scriptures, after you humble yourself, the Bible says that your face will glow, which means your health will be restored to you. What is glowing face? Do you put lotion there? No. You know what a glowing face is, right? When somebody is alive, their face, it doesn't mean there's light. There's a glow in your face. That means there's vitality. There is life. But some people, you look at them, they're so depressed and so anxious and worrisome that they look like zombies. They're walking dead. But some people are just alive. And this is the will of God. Gaius, the recipient of the letter, John says, loved him in the truth. Earlier on, we were talking about love. Now, truth. In the truth. Love and truth. It makes it like a double-stranded cord that makes it stronger. God is the third one that makes it unbreakable. And Gaius practices Christian hospitality. And because he was practicing Christian hospitality, now this is what happened. Simple thinking, we always compare. Yeah. Now, Paul said this, do not compare yourself one with another, because we end up putting other people down. He's a better preacher, he's a better teacher, he's a better singer. You know, we have contests, best musician, best singer, best drama artist. What is that? All comparisons. All to show you are better than others. That's not Christian thinking. Christian thinking is to think of yourself better than others, more highly than you ought. Okay? Now it says there, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, which means think properly about yourself. It is not a thinking. False humility is when you put yourself down. If you can sing, accept it. I can sing. Then you are thinking as you ought. Do not think of yourself more highly than you ought. So, if you are a great artist, accept that you're a great artist. But don't ever think that you're a great artist and you're an excellent engineer and you're a phenomenal doctor, because you are not. Because you're thinking of yourself more highly. Accept your status in life. Because that status, that faith status in life, is what God gave you. Okay? And if you are walking in the steps that the Lord prepared, because the path of the righteous is prepared by God. If you're walking in that path of life is prepared to you by God. Now, this is my path. Okay? I am a teacher of the Word. And so I teach. Yeah. So after I teach, I sit down and shut up. You know, I'm done. That's my role. I don't try to do magic and copy others in what they're doing. That's not my role. I have seen there are singing evangelists, there are singing preachers. I am not one. Okay, I'm not a singing preacher. Now I have seen people try to become singing preachers, and that's not good. It's embarrassing. I have seen people embarrass themselves in singing because they're thinking of themselves more highly. Okay, more highly than they ought. So assess yourself, where am I? Now, Gaius is such a person. He recognized that the Lord had gifted him with prosperity and with the gift of hospitality. Hospitality is not only a Christian obligation, it is also a gift. Some people are just very good in hosting. Again, when I say hosting, I don't mean you have a party, but you can host people. Okay? My father has that gift. And my mother, especially my father. My father is a very hospitable person. Yeah. And sometimes he annoys my mother when he practices hospitality. At one time, there was this guy, and my father was newly born again during this time. There was this guy who attended our church, and they were just talking, and he said, "Pare, what are you up to? I said, oh, I'm going to go to my province, and I'm going to stay there. And my father says, oh, you're not from Metro Manila? No, I'm from the province. I just came from somewhere, and I've got to go back to the province and settle there. What did you do before? And the guy reluctantly says, well, I used to be an inmate. He said, I just came out of jail. And he said, so I'm going to go to the province. And my father just looked at him. Now in the Philippines, oh, you're an inmate. I'm going to stay away from you. You know. My father said, oh, you just came out of prison. Now remember, the workers, my father handled several men. Well, these are goons, you know. But they are men, so they're goonsmen. Yeah. not groomsmen. These are bullies. These are people who kill other people, you know. These are the men of my... well, that's how my father was. He was respected by these people, so... When he said that, well, I just came, oh, you came from jail. Welcome to my house. And my mother said, what? And my father immediately gave my mother a look. And when my father gives you that look, you don't say no. Yeah, so he's coming with us. So the guy ate with us. The guy just came from prison. He was eating with us. And then my father kept asking him and said, so you're going to the province? Yeah. The Lord saved me already. I'm in a new life now. So, and you know, we have a house, but it was not a phenomenal house. It was not a luxurious house. So you're going now? Yeah, I'm going now to the province. I'm going to go to the train station. I have some money here. I'm going to buy my ticket. And my father pulled out a few hundred pesos and gave it to him. That should help you with some of your meals. And my mother looked at him and says, why did you do that? And my father says, why not? My father is just like that. We have some relatives who wants to stay in Manila. He'll send them to school. He's a very hospitable person. He's got that gift. Yeah. That's why after being born again, he became president of the Men's Fellowship right away. He doesn't even know how to spell Bible yet. He became president of Men's Fellowship. Why? Because he pays for everything. Yeah. So I was teasing him. I was making fun of my father. I said, Tay, born again mo lang, presidente ka na. Sabi ko, anong ginawa mo? Binili mo ba yung mga boto? Yeah, so he said, well, no, because there's a project, people are poor, and he said, I'll just pay for everything. And I told my father, why do you do that? I said, well, Jose, when I was a drunkard, I paid for everything. What's the difference? And so my father was always able to make money. And he was not even born again yet. But my father always know how to make money. Yeah. When you are walking in accordance to who, that's why you've got to know who you are. You know, if some of you are very good in helping, you have a ministry of help. Accept that. Now, not because you're a ministry of help. Now, don't try to tell me what to do now. Okay. Ministry of help means you're trying to help me. That's a big difference there. If you think you're a servant or you have a heart of a deacon serves the ministers. Okay. Now don't force me and say I'm always serving in the church. Now I want to give you a special number. Please don't. Okay. Some people may leave the church the moment they hear your voice. So don't do that. Just think appropriately. And the moment you know your role, be happy with that. Okay? Now, of course, with that role, there are other people with that role also. I'm a teacher, but there are other teachers out there that are just phenomenally excellent. I recognize that. Yeah, I recognize that. You have to recognize all of these things. So, when you do that, then you become grounded. And that's the will of God. Be grounded. You think what you ought. You're a hospitable person. Just be grounded and grow. And when he says, I wish above all things, again, it's present, that thou mayest prosper, or that you will keep prospering. Now, let's not limit now that prosperity to economics. He is a hospitable person. May you prosper. Continue to open your house. Continue to be hospitable. Continue receiving ministers like this and sending them out with provision. Now listen. when we talk about this, we are now entering into the arena of some people who are busybodies in the New Testament, and they know about this. So they look at people like this with excellence and take advantage. Now, listen to this. The hospitality being practiced here was targeted. Now you can be open to everybody and be hospitable. But here, in this context, hospitality is targeted towards traveling ministers. You know, one of the things that is stuck in my heart, what Bishop Relia Rena told me. Because I told him one time, a couple of years back, you know, I just sent 75 boxes, balikbayan boxes. And he said, how many? 75 balikbayan boxes. I said, the other time we sent 50 balikbayan boxes. And I said, that many? I said, yeah, we just send them out. And he said, I think he's got something like 20 or 15 balikbayan boxes. And he said, I need to send them out. And he sent them out. You know what it took him to send those balikbayan boxes was, he traveled from Chicago all the way to California. He stopped in several churches, waiting for offerings. And he told me this, you know, Pastor Jose, one thing that I have learned from these Filipino churches, sabi ko what? Makunat. Ang sa English yung makunat? Huh? They are beef jerky. Yeah. I mean, they won't give. Because when we heard somebody told that he was sick and he was staying in the borders of Wisconsin, I immediately went there. Yeah. I immediately went there and gave him some check. No, he has not preached yet. Give him some check. And you know, when you're in it, he looked at the check right away, went to the room. And, oh, Pastor Jose, why are you doing this? I said, why? You don't want me to do this? No. Because our church is generous and very hospitable. Yeah. And he told me these things. And this is wrong. There ought to be, especially, so now it's targeted to the missionaries. Now, other people can take advantage of that. So they will make loud prayers. When I say loud prayers, parinig in Tagalog. Yeah. They heard that you have a bonus, so the pastor comes to you and say, oh, can you please pray for me? I need some money, because you just have your bonus. You know, that becomes the sad state of Christianity today. Generosity is lost. Okay? And so, Bishop Relian loves coming here. Yeah. And by the way, whenever I go to the Philippines and I have the opportunity to see him, I also see him there. And our church, bless him. Yeah. There were many churches in the Philippines that our church had blessed. And they were not asking for it. They were not asking for it. Last time, our students in the center. So you know how we have, every time it goes on sale, a Thompson Bible, very expensive in the Philippines. So I bought, I think I have 100 of them. And some of you bought also, and you gave it to me. So I brought 2 big boxes, and they are there. So in one of my classes, I asked the students, do you guys have Thompson Bible? I said, no, it's very expensive. So I said, do you like Thompson Bible? And all of them, of course, Pastor says it's expensive. I said, okay. I said, pick one. And so at the back there's this stanza. Oh, how much? I said, I'm not selling that. I said, if you want to pay for it, then you can get one. I said, it's free. And I gave it to everybody. And they were very happy. And I said, well, that's the gift from Lion's Heart. Yeah. And so, but some people will take advantage of that, as in this case. And so there was a writing that they found in the 2nd century because this becomes very popular. And so how do you judge a false prophet from a true prophet? Okay. So this author wrote this. If somebody enters your house, and you're hospitable, enters your house, sleep in your room, and eat your food for 2 weeks, and did not do anything, he is a false prophet. Because a lot of people are going around taking advantage. So meaning, when somebody comes to your house as a missionary, and they eat your food, and they sleep in your, and they don't even volunteer to do the dishes or help in the household chores, this 2nd century writer says he is a false prophet. Yeah. Because what you don't want to be is to be a burden. Now, I'm a recipient of that hospitality. I told you when I was offered scholarship by Peter Wagner at Fuller Theological Seminary, but I felt I need to go to Regent University. So I went there. I have nobody at Regent, at Virginia Beach. And my friend in Hawaii, Pastor Kinsai, was very concerned. Jose, you have to stay here. Fuller is having an extension here. We can work on your papers. I said, no, I believe God wants me to be at Regent University. So I was standing there like this. I told my wife, we flew from New York, and I told her, get a cab. I said, I'll find me a hotel for 1 week. If something happened, if nothing happened, I'm just going to disappear. And I said, I'm going to drop you up to your grandmother's house. And she was very sad. And I was standing there like this, waiting for my luggage, and a lady approached me, Nanay Evelyn. And she looked at me and said, are you Filipino? And I said, yes, I am. Of course I am, because she looks like Filipina. Of course I'm Filipino. And then she said, is your name Jose? Now, I've never met this lady before. Is your name Jose? Now, I said, yes. And then she picked something from her purse with a name. It says, she said, are you this person? And I read what is in the paper. It says, Jose Nacionales. And I said, yeah, that's me. And she said, you're staying with me. I've never met this lady before. But the Lord did a miracle through contacts. Some people are bothered and worried about me, so they make some calls and make the connections. And this is a deacon from the biggest church in Virginia Beach. And she picked me up to stay with her. I stayed in their house for 2 years. I ate their food. I sleep in one of their beds. Now, I cannot possibly take advantage of that. So guess what? We have household chores. I was given Tuesdays. I'm supposed to do the dishes on Tuesdays. And I did not complain. You know what I did? I do the dishes every day. Yeah. And they told me, why are you doing the dish every day? I said, this is the least I can do. You're very hospitable. I mow the lawn every week. Now, when their washing machine breaks down, I take all of their laundry and wash them. They were not telling me. I'll wash them. And then when I press my clothes, when I iron my clothes, I'll take the clothes of the firstborn in their family and I press his clothes too. And they were saying, Jose, why are you doing all of that? I don't want to take advantage of anybody's hospitality. You see? And that, because, and then I've read that writing, if you stay for 2 weeks in a person's house and you don't do anything, you're a false prophet. You see? Although we host ministers, these are also people. They cannot be a burden to you. I hosted somebody in my house. The guy won't even volunteer to, he will eat and then he will just stand up after he eats and not do anything. And it used to infuriate my wife. So what happened? I found a reason to kick him out. That's just the way it is. You know, do not, this gift of hospitality does not give license to anybody to take advantage of you. Are you listening? Nobody is supposed to take advantage of you. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and there was this missionary from one of the African nations. I don't know what nation was that, but It sounds African, Plus, he looks African, so it must be Africa. Nobody was entertaining him. And everybody sad to say everybody was white, So nobody was entertaining him. And I have a different color, and he's got a darker color than my dark color already. I told him, hey, listen, where are you from? And he told me. And said, nobody's eating with him. And so I said, let's eat together every meal. And he was just quiet, like a person that's very timid, just very quiet. So at the end of our conference, I gave him some money. Yeah, I was very happy. Oh, thank you so much. I really have nothing when I came here. Somebody just sponsored me. So I said, well, that's for your expenses. And then I wrote him. I said, hey, listen, I'm willing to help you. I was thinking I'm going to buy him clothes. I'm going to give him allowance for food. I said, so what do you need? So he wrote me back. After he wrote me back, I tore the paper and never communicated with him again. Because he wrote me back and says, I need a new house. I need a car. Whoa! I backed off. During that time, I don't even have a house. And he was asking me for a house. That's taking advantage, you see. So what happened? I backed off. I did not communicate with him anymore. Yeah. Because you have to be able, look, when the Lord blesses you with resources, that is for a purpose. It will benefit you, but ultimately it's for the kingdom of God. Therefore, you cannot allow the thief to steal it. Yeah. Some Christians, they are already being taken advantage of, and nobody needs to break in your house. I mean, your house is wide open. That is not supposed to. I was saying last Friday that some of these politicians say, those who are anti-immigrant, hey, listen, they break in our country. That is a lie. Nobody was breaking in this country. Obama and Biden opened the borders. So they did not break in. They walked in. That's what they did, And so when somebody says, well, they broke in our borders. No, they did not. They not broke in. They walked in. And by the way, not because it's from the South, don't say it's Mexicans. Why? Some of them are Filipinos. They would land in Panama. Panama is their best location. They go to Panama and then walk back to Rio Grande. And Filipinos are good swimmers. So they also come from, and we all call them Mexicans. That's unfair, because not all of them are Mexicans. Some of them are Filipinos. But they did not break in. They walked in because we opened the borders. They are having difficulty breaking in right now because Trump closed the borders. Yeah. But those who are here, they did not break in. That's a lie from politicians. They did not break in. We welcome them in. It's like if you don't lock your doors and you say, well, a thief broke in. No, they walked in. You did not lock your doors. So they did not break in. They walked in. You welcomed them in. It's the same thing that happened. Now, as Christians, we have been tasked by the Lord to be hospitable. And with that hospitality comes this promise of prosperity. But you must never allow anybody to take advantage of you. Are you listening? Do not allow any. You see a strong, muscled Christian always borrowing money and not working, then let them starve. He who does not work must not eat. That's in the Bible. Do that to your kids. You have lazy children, don't feed them. They will work, because if they want to survive. But that's what the Bible says. Okay, so we need to see through that here the reputation of Gaius is like that. But there is somebody named Joe Trippis. I guess it's a good name, But when somebody is not hospitable, and he can witness or see another person being very hospitable, it's a rebuke. It's a rebuke to them. It's like, I was a Roman Catholic before, so before the offering plate of the Catholic Church is it's really a plate. Now they have the same thing as we do. Those offering bags with a little opening. Now you can put your hands in there to ask for change. But before, what we have is plate, and they normally made out of tin. So when you put coins, it makes sounds. Well, not everybody has money, you know. Well, everybody has money, but it's for something else. And so the offering plate will be passed like that, and some people will drop, and you can hear the coins cling. Most of the time I have no money, so now when the offering plate comes, you know what I do? I shake it. Pretending I'm also giving, because I'm embarrassed that somebody is giving and I'm not giving. So I will shake it, and it will make noise. And people around you knows you're not giving, so they will be giggling, they'll be smiling, but everybody understands what's going on. You see, and sometimes you get upset. Why are you giving to that person? It's a rebuke to you. So this Joe Tripp is because Gaius is a very good example. Other Christian wants to follow him. He starts rebuking them. He starts rebuking them, and he starts telling them, hey, listen, stop giving. Now, he is a church leader. If they opened their house and they kept being hospitable, you are not obedient to your pastor. And he excommunicates them. Supposedly, he's one of the elders. And so he was one of the pastors. Yeah. And so John heard about it. So John obviously communicated to them one way or the other and said, be hospitable. And Joe Trippis read the letter and says, I'm not going to follow this. So now he opposed even the Apostle John. You see? That's why you have to be very careful when you have elders in the church and you have leadership in the church and they are encouraging something and then they come along and say, don't do that. That's exactly what's happening here. You see? Because it's a rebuke and so to their lives. And so John is saying, I will deal with them personally when I come back. Now listen, the lesson there is this. If you're doing something good, do not allow others to stop you from doing good. Because you can be influenced by others to not do good. You know how sometimes, for example, we have beggars. Yeah? Since they legalize marijuana in Oklahoma, where Jesus came, where what's the name? Joseph. I was about to say Jesus. Oklahoma is weird. There are some beggars there with a sign asking for alms because they want to smoke weeds. I mean, that's in their sign. Please give. We want to. Something is really wrong up in their head, you know. And some people are actually giving. I don't know if Joseph gave. I'll knock his head off if he gives. But that's just the way it is. Some people are just taking advantage. And so we have to be very careful because there is what you call as outstanding Christian hospitality. And you cannot, now other people will still take advantage of you. Well, you can't help that. You know, when beggars are around, we still give. And sometimes, why are you giving? Well, I'd rather be wrong doing right than be right doing wrong. Because you cannot sift out everything. So we still, and by the way, when we give, my kids have seen that so many times. When I give to these beggars, I don't give a quarter or so. I empty whatever is in the coin jar and give everything. Yeah. Because they're not going to be able to buy anything. What if they're fooling you? Then they are fools, not me. I'm not going to see them again anyways. You know, wala akong suking pulubi. Yeah. So what happened is, but that's just, I raised my kids to be like that, to be generous to these people. Now, again, other people, you cannot control other people's behavior. Some will just take advantage of you. Well, it will happen, you know. But let's unpack this Christian hospitality and understand even more. Now, we are not unpacking this hospitality from Filipino perspective or culture of hospitality because Filipinos are very hospitable. I think the Philippines is the only nation. I have heard this from several foreigners. You know, when the Filipinos buy a pack of cigarette, I'm not endorsing cigarette smoking, okay? I'm just giving an illustration here. So a Filipino will buy a pack of cigarettes. And he is in a jeepney. And it's brand new, so he will open it. A Filipino will not take one stick of cigarette and smoke it. A Filipino will open that and ask every male in the jeepney, you want one? You want, and he'll, because I don't care if it's a 6-seater, you want one? Now, most people will not take anything, but if somebody has kapal mooks, they will get, right? But if we are in a house, I mean, thick face, you know, that's what it means, literally. If we are in a house and we're about to have our lunch, and a mailman knocks on the door, mail, and we are eating, we will ask the mailman, do you want to eat? That's just our culture. Now, it doesn't mean that because you are offered to eat means you will eat, you know. The culture also says the moment you are offered to eat, what is your answer? No. Even if you like, you have to say no. This is weird, but this is our culture. And so, if I am sincere in offering you the food, I will ask you again, do you want to eat? What is your answer? No again. Second time, it should be no. Because that's just the culture. If I offer you third time, then you can say yes. You see? These are the weirdness of our cultures. But that's why it is. But it leaves you room to save your face, because in Asia, face saving is very important. If I don't offer, I will lose my face. You see? But if you want to save my face and there is not that much food, don't take the offer. Okay? But if you are kapal mooks, take the offer, okay? And then after you leave, that guy who offered you will curse you. Yeah. That's just the way it is, you know. So it's not genuine hospitality. So we are not talking about Filipino hospitality, but John is talking about first century hospitality. Middle Eastern hospitality. Do you know that right now in the Middle East, it's still true? In Israel, it's still true. In Israel, if you knock on a door, because Muslims and Jews live side by side, they have their own quarters. If you knock on the door and says, I need water, they'll give you water. To this day. And not only will they give you water, if it's lunchtime, they will offer you to eat. They still do that. Not everybody does that because of the differences in take on that one. But that is just how it is. Brother Will and I were in Israel, and this surprised us because we went to the Garden Tomb. And the traffic is bad, and we were warned because we were coming late. It's going to be very difficult to get a taxi. So the taxi drivers knows that. We have a Muslim taxi driver who drove us to Golgotha, and he told us he can speak English. You know, it's difficult to get a taxi later because you are coming in late. I said, yeah, we know. Can we get your number? And when we are ready to leave, we will just call you, and you can pick us up. So we can determine when we're going to be leaving. He said, sure. I'll give you a ride back to your hotel. I said, good. And we made a deal how much it is. So I forgot, I think our deal was something like 30 shekels during that time. And so we said, okay, I'll pay you half. I told the taxi driver, I'll pay you half. And said, why? I said, I'll give you the other half later. He said, no. Don't pay me now. Pay me afterwards. What if I don't return? But he said, no. He said, I trust you. You will return. No, I got scared because what does it mean, yeah? But certainly, after we leave Golgotha, he was there. He kept his word. And it amazed me, this thing with culture. Oh, but the biblical culture is to be very hospitable and not let anybody take advantage of you. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is this hospitality is covenantal. John likes using the term social contract. Yeah. There are certain things in other countries that we as Filipinos, when we visit, we admire. And I'm very sure our social scientists in the Philippines, our city planners in the Philippines, have seen them and they salivate. I wish we can do it in the Philippines, but they will not. They will sigh and say, we will not be able to do that. Okay? For example, you ride a bus or a train in Israel. You have a card or you have an app and they'll charge you. Rarely will you find a, how do you call that, the checker, conductor, I don't know how you call it, inspector. From time to time, there is an inspector who will come in and check if you charge your card. But they are not always there. Meaning, if there is no inspector, you don't have to charge your card. You ride for free. But I'll tell you this, I'm amazed. Every single passenger who walks in, they charge their card. That's why it works. What's that? Social contract. Now you do that in the Philippines. Not only will nobody charge their card, higi pa ng sukli. You know. That's a social contract. Yeah. Like you come here to America. What happens when you see the traffic light turn red? Stop, right? In the Philippines, it turns red. And the police officer will tell you, go. It's a police officer. So you're wondering what's going on. It's the police officer. Go. It says red. And then it turns green. And the police officer says, stop. What's going on? That's absence of social contract. You see. In the community of faith, that's why it works. In the covenant community, in the community of faith, there is this social contract. Now remember, here, the recipients of hospitality, in this context, are ministers and Christians. And who else? So who are the strangers? Who are the strangers? Now, I'll show you something in the Bible. Who are the strangers? Filipinos? Who are the strangers? That language was used before. Be careful how you entertain strangers. Why? Because you may be entertaining angels. You know, in the faith community in the Old and New Testament, there is this expectation, and you'll find this in some Jewish commentators, there is this expectation that an angel can visit your house all the time. In one of the books of the Old Testament, you will find that one of the roles of these angels is to inspect. It's amazing. Supposedly angels roam around us. How they look like? They look just like us. And the reason why we cannot see them is because we're looking for wings. You know? If there are no wings, that's a fallen angel. But no, not all angels have wings. And I don't know if their wings can disappear. But in the language of Peter, be careful how you entertain strangers because you may be entertaining angels. The mother of Lester Samuel, she has the father. They have their habit every morning. They wake up because he's a machinist, and they'll be eating this kind of breakfast. And he said one morning, and they are awake before everybody wakes up because of the nature of his work. He said one morning somebody knocked on the door, and it's a very strange morning. Somebody knocks on their door while they were cooking breakfast. Open the door. This stranger. You know, a small town, everybody knows everybody. So she opened the door. And she asked for something. And she said, this is a different personality. The guy is a stranger, but he said, this guy is just totally at peace with himself. Like there's calmness in this guy. And the guy was very polite, and she said, come in, I'm fixing some breakfast. Would you care to join? And the guest says, sure. And he said, when they sit down, you know, a stranger will just eat. But this guy look at the food and then bless the food. Pray for the food. Yeah. After they eat, she turned around and the guy was gone. Yeah. And she said, she was concerned, but she said, there's something about this guy. And so she asked the neighbors, because they know each other, have you seen this guy? Oh, nobody saw nobody. To the day she died, she was convinced she entertained an angel. Okay. You will find it in the Bible that there is this. No, I don't want you to keep looking for angels now, okay? Are you an angel? Or are you a demon? You know, you don't do that. But it seems like in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, from the language of Peter, there is this anticipation that an angel can visit you. You know? Not necessarily the guy's name. What's your name? Angel. No, not that name. Okay? But it's a heavenly being. And by the way, they can eat food. Abraham entertained angels. You know that? And so these are possibilities. So the connection between the spiritual world and the natural world. And one of the ways, listen to this, one of the ways by which they can be bridged is through hospitality. You see? Which teaches us this lesson. Your gifts and calling bridges the spirit world and the natural world. Okay? It bridges the spiritual world and the natural world. Like, for example, one of the most misused ministries is worship. Yeah. Because people turn it into entertainment. Oh, in worship, you bridge the heavenly and the earthly. Remember that book written by the Hunters? Angels on Assignment by Roland Bach. Okay? Roland Bach is a Lutheran pastor, and he's got this mighty visitation from angels. And in one of the visitations, while the angel visiting him was talking, suddenly he stopped and he looked up. And he asked the angel, what's going on? And the angel looked at him and says, just hold on. The angels are worshiping. And he said, the moment this visiting angel told him the angels are visiting, he said, the Spirit just came upon me, and the spirit of worship. He said, he just worshiped. No, he said, this angel that was visiting me is big and tall, you know. And said, so he started, he said he was overtaken by this sense of worship. So he started joining the angel. He started worshiping. He said, while worshiping, he opened his eyes. You know what happened when he opened his eyes? He looked at the angel beside him. They have the same height. And he was shocked because he said, no, he's taller and bigger than me. So he looked. He said, I was levitated. He said, worship makes everybody equal in the presence of God. So there, what happened with worship, it bridges, because the angel was visiting him, it bridges the spirit world and the natural world. But if you think as worship as entertainment and a way to show everybody how good you are, then you don't make that bridge. And if you're just playing for the sake of playing and you are not worshiping, then you're just an entertainer. But if you take it as a ministry, you are bridging. I mean, preaching or teaching like this, it's a spiritual gift. It bridges spiritual information into natural brains for the facilitation of revelation. You see, everything that we are gifted with, that is, you go on missions. You are bridging the spirit realm and the natural realm. That's why hospitality is big. Because in hospitality, not only are you entertaining, in this context, messengers of the gospel, you can also entertain strangers. And by the way, when angels visits in the Bible, what do they carry? A message. A message that can change your life. A message that can bring you prosperity. A message that will connect you to the heavenly realm and have access to heavenly provisions. That's angelic ministry, you see. And so, when we do our parts, whatever ministry we have, it bridges the spirit world and natural world. That's why the enemy will try to infiltrate that. How they infiltrate that? Joe Trippies. This carries giving. Other people taking advantage. If people are always taking advantage of you, what mindset will develop in your life? I'll stop doing this. You know why other people stop giving alms? By the way, it's a biblical ministry. Give alms. Okay? So, you know why people stop giving alms? Because other people are taking advantage of others' generosity. And really, there are beggars out there who are not supposed to be beggars. I mean, they're taking advantage of others' generosity. And so some people are turned off. I'm not going to give anymore. Oh, but the moment you develop that attitude, what if you are being visited by angels? Then you lose it altogether. That's why I know that there are beggars out there taking advantage, but I still give. I don't want to miss the opportunity. You see, I just don't want to miss the opportunity. And the Lord will bless you for that. Of course, you still use your brain. If the guy is begging and he's smoking weeds, you're not going to give, you know. It's not an angel on high. It's a human being on high right there. You see, so there's a big difference there. So, and this hospitality that John speaks of includes financial support for these traveling missionaries so they can fulfill their part in the Great Commission. In other words, this missionary hospitality or missions hospitality is needed. Lester was testifying when he was young and was going around the world to meet Howard Carter in Australia. He said there's this big church in California who was upset with him because he's going to missions. And he said, I preached for him, and he said he did not give me any offering. And he has no money to buy the tickets to go to Australia. That is a bad hospitality on the part of this missionary. Jesse Duplantis, he has a bottle of Dr. Pepper. Because he said when he was starting, not a bottle, a can of Dr. Pepper. He said when he was ministering for this church in Texas, he preached there for something like 2 weeks. You know, he was ministering, and he said they were not taking offerings for me. He said at the end of his tenure, he said he really needs money, and the pastor looked at him and says, Reverend Duplantis, thank you so much for your ministry. We are blessed, souls were saved, the Lord healed us, and we're sending you out with blessings, and gave him a can of Dr. Pepper. And he said he has to check his heart. He said, God is my provider. He has to check his heart because he said, this is not going to work. And so you know what he did? He did not drink the Dr. Pepper. He preserved it. And according to him, because I listen to him every year, according to him, the Dr. Pepper is still with him. I know it's already expired, but it's still with him to remind him that he needs to put his trust in the Lord. You see? And by the way, these are genuine preachers. Because some preachers are not really preachers. They just appointed themselves as preachers, and some doesn't have the calling. And so because of all of these things, he's part in the fulfillment of the Great Commission. He said, I pray that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospereth. Okay, so the example is, do not be like Joe Trippies, be like Gaius. So, and this is what spiritual leadership looks like now when you're talking about these things. Number one, you receive the truth. Okay? After you receive the truth, you share the truth. And this is discipleship actually. You can only give what you have. You cannot give what you don't have. So at some point, you start passing on. Paul puts it this way. Teach other men who can teach others also. World changers. Teach other men who can. That's one of the verses that is at Regent University. They emphasize that we are training world leaders, they said. So, what I received from the Lord, Paul said, I pass on to you. Now, this is, in the letters of John, what have we received from the Lord? So far, we have received truth. We have received love. And now, on the third letter, we have received hospitality. Pass it on. You experience love from God. Pass it on to others. You experience forgiveness. You pass it on to others. You experience generosity from others. You pass it on to others. The moment you keep doing that, then discipleship continues or progresses. So these are the three main things in the letters of John. Love, truth, and now hospitality. Now, the other thing in this generosity thing, giving thing, hospitality thing, is from what he received from the Lord, the commission, he's passing it to others. Okay. So God gave you. I told you this before, that whenever in the Bible, and this is about families, when God calls Abraham, I want you to be the father of many nations. How many children did Abraham have before Sarah died? Just one. Now, God told him, I want you to be a father of many nations. Of course, he has children with Keturah, but we're talking about the children of promise. Only Isaac. He has more slaves and slave families than son. He only had Isaac. But God promised, I will make you a great nation. Therefore, the call of God to Abraham cannot be fulfilled only in his lifetime. It has to continue to be fulfilled through Isaac. Now, Isaac only had 2 children. Okay? You have Esau and you have Jacob. Esau happens to hate God's will. Jacob loved God's will. So therefore, the will of God to build a believing nation can only be fulfilled from Abraham down to Isaac, down to Jacob. Now, Jacob has 12 tribes, but the most believing of these 12 tribes is Joseph. This is the meaning of this. When God gives you a call, it's transgenerational. Yeah. It will not stop in you. It will continue. Now, God called me to teach the gospel. All of my kids have teaching gifts. They can teach. I didn't realize this before. But they can embrace it. So I told my kids, I don't care what your profession is. I don't care what career you develop. You teach. And they can teach. The next person I'm observing is Joel, how he will express that teaching gift. But he's going to be he's already in the music ministry, but he's going to be a musician. He's going to take a course in college. But I am observing how Joel will manifest the teaching gift. Because I've seen the teaching gift in all of my kids. Now I want to see it from Joel. Meaning, that will continue from generation to generation. What is that? I am passing on what has been given to me. The problem becomes like this. When you cannot train your children to embrace the vision. Isaac has to embrace the vision. Jacob has to embrace the vision. His children has to embrace the vision, but it was Joseph who embraced it fully. That's why through Joseph, Abraham was able to bless the world, not only Egypt, but the surrounding countries. Because of famine, it was Abraham who blessed the world during that time. And so whatever call you have, it will continue in your coming generations. Are you listening? That's why you keep passing on. Your best disciples, theoretically or biblically, your best disciples will be your children. And it is sad when one of your children or all of your children rebel against God. That's in the Bible. Esau rebelled against the Lord. Not everybody in Israel followed the Lord. I mean, they keep coming up with rebellious children. Or your children can embrace the will of God and continue to prosper. There's this big parental role that needs to be played. Because again, John was teaching his congregation the same message. Gaius embraced it. Joe Trippis rejected it. You know that in any church like this, it's like that. I will be teaching the same message. Some will accept it, some will reject it. You say, can you not prevent it? No, it can't be prevented. Because of the choice that God is giving to us. But this is now how we strengthen our relationship. We strengthen our relationship the moment we focus on the will of God. This is the will of God. Therefore, I'm not going to blunder it. I have to live right because I am passing on what the Lord gave to me to my children and to my spiritual constituencies. Okay? Not only you, we have constituencies in the Philippines and anywhere the Lord sends us. So that is an influence that God gave to us. Therefore, I have to watch how I live so that it will not be an offense to others. When you do that, then the perpetuity of the message continues. The love, the truth, and the hospitality. And the will of God is that all of you may prosper infinitively. That you will continue to prosper and you will continue to be in good health even as your soul continue to prosper. Amen? Amen. Did you learn something tonight? Praise God. Let's have the ushers come, please.